When you play a game, there are a lot of things that you look at and go, wow, this is amazing. Like the story, the graphics, the gameplay, all those things. But there are a lot of minor things that go into making a game great. And that's what this video is going to be about. Like, for example, the enemies. We all pay attention to the amazing bosses in Elden Ring or Sekiro and all that. But we do not pay enough attention to the amazing enemy designs in Silk Song or many other games. Like, yeah, I get it, bosses are important, but so are the enemies that are inhabiting the entire world. And when an enemy design and enemies are done well, I think they have a lot of potential to make a game great. And they do most of the time. When an enemy design is done right, it's great. And it was like one of my main flaw at the beginning of God of War Ragnarok, that enemies were really stale and boring and repetitive. But it was fixed soon because later the enemies variety increased and all. But yeah, it was a flaw at the beginning, and I have heard that the original God of War has that issue. But aside from just that, there are a lot other things that you just ignore when playing a game, like art direction. The thing is, art style matters way more than graphics. Can we just agree on that? Because yes, graphics are a little bit important, but art style will always be superior to graphics. Like, always. There will never be a company, no, there should never be a company that chases realistic graphics unless and until you're Rockstar. I think Rockstar should be the only exception to realistic graphics, because they are the only company that should chase realism, because they obviously do it the best. And when they do it, every other company try to chase them. Every other company is like, whoa, we have to read them, we have to go for that. No, choose your own style, try to be unique. Indie games do that all the time. Why can't AAAs do it? Look at us, we don't always need realistic or hyper realistic graphics. We just need some good art direction. And that is the exact reason some of my favorite games, no, actually my favorite games are Silk Song, Breath of the Wild and all those, that don't follow the generic art of realism that the gaming industry has been trying to follow for a long time, but actually try to do something unique with their art. And let's be real, I also hate as Nintendo as much as the next guy for all the lawsuits and all those things, but we have to give them credit where it's due. Art style wise, I think Nintendo is ahead in competition than many others. Not ahead of indies, because indies do it the best, but Nintendo does try to retain unique art style, except for when it comes to Pokemon. They just, okay, I'll talk about Pokemon later in some days. It's something that I really want to talk about one day. But right now, that's not what I wanted to talk about. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, that a lot of people usually ignore, is the start of a game. Now, the thing is, Crimson Desert, I recently played it a lot and I really loved the game. But one of the biggest flaw I had with the game was the start. It was a very slow and boring start, and I actually hated it. It's such a slow start, and especially the opening sequence of the fight and all, it just felt clunky and not well made. Like it was something that was made in last month or something, which genuinely should not have been the case, because if it wasn't for that, I don't think the game would have been mixed at the beginning. Fantastic game, but I don't understand why they decided to do that. And Crimson Desert isn't the only game to do it. There are a lot of other games where the beginning of the game just flops. And on the other side of the spectrum, when the beginning is done well, where I think I'm currently playing Black Myth Wukong, and I just completed Act 1, and Act 1 of that game, the beginning with the first fight to all the bosses, extremely well done. I mean, from my perspective, the entire game is going to be mostly surrounded about bosses, Black Myth Wukong, but I think that's completely fine, because bosses in that game so far have been pretty damn good. But we are going off topic, but you should know that, yeah, a good start to a game leads to the good game being better, but You should never determine the entire game from the first few hours of a game. Okay, so always remember that. The end just matters as much as the start, but that's not what I'm going to be talking about right now, because the next thing that I want to talk about that I think goes ignored a lot, gets ignored a lot, is UI. User interface is such an important thing in gaming that we just never pay attention to it at all. Like, hey, do you understand how important it is to have clean and good UI in a game? Especially when it's multiplayer, it becomes essential. But most of the multiplayer games are becoming like a slog with millions of things. But even in a single player game, it really matters a lot. Now, I'm again gonna have to complain about Crimson Desert here. Another flaw that I had with the game was the UI. It was not good. Let's be real. It was like not well done. They are fixing it slowly but surely, but it should not have been like that from the start. Again, I don't hate the game. It's like the best game I have played this year, maybe alongside Resident Evil Requiem. But it's something that many gamers should keep in mind while making a game. When a UI is cleaner and like done well, it just helps player to understand the game better and stick with the game, not like confuses and anything like that. So yeah, please always remember that you should appreciate when there is a good UI, just like when you should appreciate when there are good camera angles. Like camera, man, this is such an important thing. Like I have some issues with From Software games because of camera angles. Sometimes in some boss fights, camera angle in From Software games is just so bad. Sometimes you just don't know what to do and when to do what because of the camera angle. The camera should not control your game. You should control the camera, okay? And also, again, I'm gonna have to go to Crimson Desert. Throughout the entire game, camera angle is great. It's really well done. But why did they decide that you should not be able to control your camera during the boss fights? I understand that it wasn't an issue the entire time, but there were quite many boss fights where the camera angle will just fly high or just get super close and all that. Like during Red Devil boss fight, it just sometimes went all the way high and came down. It was like weird to say the least. But there are a lot of games that the camera angle fell, and I think it's really important to do that, and many games ignore that. But again, that's not the only thing that many people tend to ignore. Another thing that I think many people ignore is the sound design of a game. Now, we all appreciate the music, we all appreciate the voice acting and all that. But do we actually appreciate the sound design enough? We don't. A sound design in a game makes or breaks quite a lot of things, like the gunfire sounds, the things, dropping sounds, or door opening sounds. All of these things make you immerse in that world, and it's very important. When you play a game, sound design plays such a big role in making sure the game you are playing makes you feel you are in that world. And sound design should not be ignored when you play a game. Like, pay attention to how good it is when you play with some good headphones. Sound design makes or break many games. Horror games, shooter games, a lot others as well. And just like sound design, there is another thing that makes or breaks any game ever, and that is the tutorial. Tutorial in a game is something that should be presented good enough. Like, please present a good tutorial to a game. It should not be 50 hours long. Pokemon, please take notes. Nobody needs to go through Pokemon dialogues and tutorial, and nobody needs to learn how to catch Pokemon for a 50 millionth time. Please let us just skip it sometimes, or at least make it short. And one of my biggest complaints with modern Pokemon game is how long the tutorials are. And as I am going forward, it's not just Pokemon that has that issue. I also thought Tears of the Kingdom had a long tutorial. Amazing game, but the tutorial I think was dragged on quite a lot. Unlike Breath of the Wild, where the tutorial is big, but I think it's much better managed than these games. And yeah, tutorials is something that definitely needs to be a priority when making a game. Like, If you need to teach the game to somebody, please do it correctly. And just like tutorials, there is something else that I want to talk about that tends to go ignore a lot. And this is the last thing that I want to talk about in this video. And that is the important story moment. I'm not talking about the story. I actually have quite a hot take. And that is that stories don't matter in games as much as many people think they do. But it's an entirely different video that I'll make about it. So you can watch that. Let's be real. Stories matter, but only when the game is presented with the fact that it has a good story. If the game is already telling you that it's not going to have a good story or it's not story focused, people should ignore the story. But what people should not ignore is the story moment that make or break a game. Like God of War Ragnarok. That game had a really well made ending. I personally liked it quite a lot. The final fight with the Ragnarok, the war, it was just so amazing. It was one of the best story moments. Same with Crimson Desert. Throughout this game, the game is like pretty mid-story. Game has a pretty mid-story, but there are these war scenes that just are, oh, they are so good. Especially that one war, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just so well made. When you progress the story, you'll know what I'm talking about, which scene I'm talking about. It's just that war that goes on and everything you do, everything that your allies are doing. Yeah, that scene alone, I don't care about the entire story of Crimson Desert, but that one scene had me high because it was just such a good scene. And it's not just Crimson Desert that had it. There are a lot of other games that have these moments that make or break a game. But that's a video for another day as well. And I'll also make a video on things that people like give a lot of attention to that don't matter as much. But that's a video for another day as well. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you liked it, please do consider subscribing. It will help me out a lot.